What's up, fight fans? Welcome to the UFC on ESPN +1 or UFC Fight Night 143 or hashtag UFC Brooklyn post-fight show brought to you by SB Nation MMA, which includes websites like BloodyElbow.com and also MMAmania.com. I'm your host, as usual, Flying Brian J, and with me, as always, is the Zane Simon from BloodyElbow.com. We just got done watching a pretty darn good fight card that got over way sooner than I thought it would. Zane, what are your overall impression of the UFC's first trip to ESPN?
Well, I can't be happier than a UFC TV card ending early. And I realize this is for their streaming service, but it's pretty clear, unfortunately, that unlike Fight Pass, they're going to be handling ESPN Plus exactly like an FS1 pacing card. So it kind of running ahead of schedule, running a little early, not, really letting that not feel as long as it could have was beautiful. I got no complaints about that. And then, I was saying this before, but it's hard not to feel a whole lot of schadenfreude for watching Greg Hardy fail this miserably in his first attempt. And fuck Greg Hardy. He seems totally unrepentant and in denial about charges against him. And I know people will be like, oh, well, he got charges dropped. He paid off the woman that was accused of beating him up, and she didn't show up in court. So that's really neither here nor there. But you really got to feel the shot. Oh, fucking dude, you just fucked up my flow. I saw you coming in. I was like, oh, god damn it. Now he has to be. But
welcome to the show, the Eddie Mercado, Mr. Sunshine, Mr. Positivity. Go ahead.
It's good to be back, especially if I'm interrupting Zane. That's even better.
God damn it. No, I'm done now. I'm done. I'm off.
Essentially, if I can shorten what you were saying, fuck Greg Hardy?
Well, I'm saying fuck the UFC for trying to make a star out of this dude after 3 pro fights. And the only upside was he was famous for playing football and famous for beating women. And they're like, man, this dude has to be our next star. And to watch that fail so hard for the UFC, that makes me happy. Because they're not going to do shit with Alan Crowder. They don't give a shit about him. They didn't make this the main event because Alan Crowder was in it. So watching people chant asshole at Greg Hardy and all that, I'm sure the UFC is going to give him another chance, and I don't know where his career is going to end up. It's not like MMA is full of, has any limit on the trash people it can attract or whatever. I can't say I'm going to stop watching because he's in it, but I'm glad to watch the initial experiment for the UFC really quickly detonate on them.
What seems odd to me is if we're giving him another shot, we have to give him a step back because he was struggling mightily with Alan Crowder. What's lower than Alan Crowder in the UFC heavyweight division? Yikes.
Yeah, no.
The answer is Greg Hardy.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. But it kind of feels like the CM Punk experiment at heavyweight. That was really low level heavyweight mixed martial arts. Ended in a shitty way for a shitty person. I wish we kind of would just end the Greg Hardy experiment.
Yeah, I don't think they will, though, and he'll probably get a bit better, and he'll do all right over the length of his career, maybe, if he sticks with it, but, that's just the value of being a very high-level athlete at baseline in a division like heavyweight. You're always going to do okay if you've got a reasonable chin on you.
I just want to give him another guy that's going to wrestle him, because that seems to be his weak point. That'll be the point that's the most difficult to get better at. So fucking give him Justin Willis and tell him to kiss off or whatever.
Bring Jared Rosholt in. Let's do Rosholt crowd.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
Oh man, I would love that. Even though I really dislike Rocholt's fights.
Yeah, Rosholt Hardy. That's got to be next, right? Bring him back.
Ugh.
Exactly. If nothing else, make any of his fights so unappealing that people just don't want to watch him out of spite.
Well, I think that he's going to have a dark cloud hanging over him even more now after that controversial illegal knee to the head of Alan Crowder. After Alan Crowder started talking some shit to him, he said, "Come on, motherfucker," and then they went to the ground and he illegal striked him. So Daniel Cormier was saying it could have been on accident, but The timing of it.
That was the John Snowden point that got a laugh out of me, at least, was that Hardy lost his temper when Crowder started talking back to him. Oh, there's a shock. I mean, it's just like, unfortunately, the UFC put them themselves in a position that, like, they're gonna have to open themselves up for any of that kind of criticism with this shit, you know?
Right, but we got Mr. Positivity coming in here a little bit late.
That's right, Eddie. Like the mood. Tell some jokes.
Let's stop talking about Greg Hardy and go ahead, Eddie.
That's a tough one, though. I mean, it's like, I honestly I'm trying to be careful with what I say. Like, I don't like having to do that.
Yeah, I know.
So
I don't know, man. I feel like this was perfect. This was the perfect kind of result, you know, because it's like, you don't really root for this guy. You don't, like, I'm all for people getting second chances, but, like, he got off on his shit, didn't he? Like, he didn't
get punished. He got thrown out of the NFL because he was too much of an asshole for any team to want to tolerate him.
So this is almost like a way of the universe's karma kind of catching up to him. It's like, hey, you probably should have won that fight and, like, easily, but we're just not going to let you. It's not happening. Like, the planets are. It's sorting itself out. The universe is sorting itself out.
For once.
Yeah, for once. It's an occasional thing.
Yeah.
But other than the Greg Hardy mishap on this entire fight card, the card was fantastic. The main card, the last 6 fights went by extremely fast. The last fight on regular ESPN was fucking incredible, and I think I would have called it the co-main event, and it was also probably fight of the night. Was lovely. The main event only lasted 32 seconds, and Henry Cejudo might have saved the flyweight division. Eddie, what'd you think of that quick ass whooping that Henry Cejudo put on TJ Dillashaw?
And damn, dude, Cejudo. You have to question whether or not he's pound for pound. Is he pound for pound? Is he like pound for pound fucking king shit right now? Like, you go from beating Demetrius Johnson, and I know a lot of people kind of say no, he didn't. Well, whatever. He officially has a win over DJ, and that alone is impressive. And now you just run through TJ fucking Dillashaw, the Bantamweight Champion. Like, that is insanely impressive. Like, that's I think someone might have been John Anik, but he was like, yeah, he kind of stamped his ballot for the Hall of Fame, and it's like, yeah, kind of, maybe. Like, I'm impressed, man. I'm blown away. Like, from where he was the first time he fought DJ to where he is now is just like, you don't even recognize the guy. Like, it's insane. That kind of growth delta is just, it really impresses me. And, you know, it sucks that the lightweight or the flyweight division just doesn't get love and they don't get paid, because this is like top shelf MMA, like MMA at its finest.
I mean, perhaps this fight right here would get them some more exposure, get them some more fans. I have to assume that a lot of people, because of Cowboy Cerrone versus Alexander Hernandez, a lot of them moved from ESPN to ESPN Plus to watch this fight, and they saw a really dominant performance, a guy that was pretty good on the microphone, asked for a rematch at 135 pounds. Perhaps it'll start getting some love after this fight.
I hope so. I mean, the unfortunate thing is that they have to switch to a pay streaming service if they want to follow that Cerrone fight. So you're trusting people to have the subscription. It's not just like, oh, I switched over from FS1 to Fox or something to go with it. You're asking people that they had to see that Cerrone Hernandez fight and then be like, I got to pay for the rest of this.
But if there was ever a bout that would get people to do that, it was
it could. I'm hoping. I don't have all the faith yet.
And we'll never get the numbers.
Do you have any faith of Cerrone making a title run at 155?
No.
No, but he could win the money belt.
It's cute, though.
Yeah.
Red Panty Night?
Yeah, he could win Red Panty Night.
I mean, if Conor McGregor is willing to take that fight, I'd be happy to watch that fight. Cerrone's exactly the kind of action fighter that's going to bring a great fight out of Conor McGregor and be fun and, be challenging or maybe lose quickly. But either way, it'll be exciting. And, I'm down to watch Cerrone in that fight. I don't know that beating Alexander Hernandez. I picked Cerrone to win this fight, and I picked him just because Alexander Hernandez is really inexperienced and doesn't have a technical game. He's a great athlete without a lot of technical tools behind him, and this fight showed that.
Hell of a fight, though.
Oh yeah.
It was an incredible back and forth fight, and I just love that Donald Cerrone handed Hernandez some humble pie. But let's go back to the main event. Zane, do you want to see the immediate rematch between Cejudo and Dillashaw at 135 pounds?
I mean, first, I kind of want to feel bad for, like, Rafael Assunção first. But yeah, because, I mean, Cejudo Dillashaw, it was conclusive. I don't think there was any problem with the stoppage. I'm not angry about the way Dillashaw, like, I'm not angry at the ref stepping in. Dillashaw losing consciousness briefly, like 4 times in a minute or 30 seconds is not, that to me is fine. That's a fine stoppage. I know it sucks for Dillashaw, but I'd be happy to see the rematch at 135 pounds. I'd be happy to see if the weight cut drained Dillashaw, to see if he can answer back, if he can, what this fight looks like after round 1. I still have those questions. I don't feel like that's answered. But if they both went back to their separate ways and the UFC found flyweight fights for Cejudo and bantamweight top contenders for Dillashaw, I'd be fine with that too. It's just, this is clearly the rematch is clearly the most exciting thing for either of them.
While you feel bad for Assunção, I feel bad for Joseph Benavidez.
Yeah. I mean, same.
And Assunção's going to lose at the beginning of February. Anyway.
Oh, well, okay. You heard it here first, folks.
Well, I'm picking Marlon Moraes, so I'd feel worse for him than I would for Assunção. I know Assunção has done like everything he possibly can to get a title shot, but I'm picking Marlon Moraes.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
Well, let's talk about the what the fuck of the card. Beyond Greg Hardy, was there anything else what the fuck of the card or a shining star of the card that you can think of, Eddie?
Shining star, I think Dennis Bermudez retiring on a win is pretty cool. I love seeing that. I think he had a pretty respectable career. And, whenever guys go out on a W, I think that's fantastic. Will he stay retired, though, I guess is the question. Because you always got to... I don't know what it is about MMA fighters, but they just can't seem to stay retired.
I think it's because they didn't make very much money while they were in the sport.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's like the love for fighting also. They're still in the gym and they see people getting ready for fights. And if you're hanging around a barbershop, eventually you're going to want a haircut. So I guess I get it. But shining star, Gregor Gillespie. Like, this dude's fucking just a problem. Like, just looking at him, it's like, man, like, that dude is no fun to fight because you are going to be carrying the bulk of his weight for the bulk of the fight. And I think he handled Yancy Medeiros, and he was dominating, and he could have, easily grinded out the next round, but he's like, fuck that. If Yancy's corner wants to keep calling out the time, I'm going to use that to my advantage and go hand with my strikes in the closing moments and sniff out a finish. And I think that was pretty badass. So I like Gillespie. I think he's a shining star. Definitely got to keep an eye on him. And that style is just so fucking just grueling. It's so grueling, and it's fun to watch. Well, I know he was getting booed too, but that's fun for me to watch, the rinse and repeat style.
I love that he's always looking to improve his position. He's not just looking to Jared Rosholt the shit out of things and control and then go to the judges like he could have. He's always looking for that finish, even though the crowd was booing him. I also like how he addressed the crowd afterward. He's kind of like, hey, listen, I had a plan, and they actually softened a little bit on their boos. So probably the only fighter ever to get the crowd to stop booing him when he tries to mansplain to them.
Well, he didn't go Iaquinta. Boo me?
Right.
Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. Hey, fellow New Yorkers, that's something. Zane, you got a WTF or a shining star?
Well, I'm going to play off the Dennis Bermudez thing and go with the run of old dudes picking up big wins, or dudettes in the case of Joanne Calderwood beating Ariane Lipsky as well, where Bermudez, Calderwood, and then there's like Calderwood, Cerrone, Teixeira run, where it's just like 3 really rock solid veterans who've been around for a while, Bermudez as well, facing really athletic young fighters that are all have been hyped in various ways. Edwards obviously had his hype train already stopped by Don Madge, but people coming off the Contender Series like, oh, this dude's a serious athlete with great power. Lipsky coming out of KSW as a champ. Hernandez obviously blitzing. Oh, damn it. What's his name? Bernil Dariush in his debut, and Roberson coming off Contender Series and all that, and then getting a big win over Marshman last time out. And just to see all these old dudes just kind of like grit their way through it and technique their way through it and just kind of finesse their way through tough fights, that makes me happy.
Yeah, that was awesome. It gives guys like you and I hope for the future. Like, maybe I haven't hit my peak yet. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go that far.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm coming up on my 30th birthday, and somebody like Glover Teixeira, 39 years old, looking stiff, looking older than 39 even, and pulling that win out after getting dropped with some hard elbows. It gives me hope for the future.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. You're still a child. When you get to Glover's age, then you're like, nah, I peaked 10 years ago. This is just a weird aberration, and we should all be happy that, like, I'm going to go home and ice my back for 5 hours and then, complain to my kids about not calling me often enough.
Speaking about complaining to his kids, he didn't complain to the kids, but sorry, Eddie, when Glover said come down to Connecticut and he would train all of the people from ESPN in jiu-jitsu and the crowd actually cheered, that was glorious as well. Just weird little moments in mixed martial arts and the UFC events that you enjoy beyond just the violence. My WTF of the card would go to the very beginning of the night when they say the fights are going to start at 5 o'clock. And then they're like, well, now that we have you here, let's start a timer for like 39 minutes from now when the first people are going to actually make the walk to the octagon. Then Chance Rencounter made quick work of Kyle Stewart, and then like, okay, now we have to wait like another half hour till the next fight. So the first like 2 hours of UFC on ESPN Plus had like 2 minutes of competition. What the fuck was going on with that?
It's the UFC pacing, baby. It's one fight per 30 minutes, no questions. So now they don't have like ESPN cares way too much about its programming time to do what FS1 did and be like, oh, here's a whole hour to some bullshit ESPN or UFC talking heads talking about, Chance Rencounter versus Kyle Stewart. Nobody cares about that. We're not putting that over college basketball. Are you fucking nuts? So now they're going to be like, oh yeah, your fights start on our streaming ESPN Plus thing like 45 minutes before the card. Just show up for that, and then we'll give you all the talking head bullshit, and you have to sit through that.
And to add to the WTF, when Dennis Bermudez was doing his post-fight speech, and he was saying that his uncle has cancer, and he's not doing really well, so he said the Bermudez boys, they always come back from adversity like that. Actually, some people experienced a cut at the end of his speech because they were trying to kick it over to ESPN, and then when they went over to ESPN, fucking basketball was on, so they didn't get to see the end of Dennis Bermudez's heartfelt call out to his uncle. So that's also a continuation of that what the fuck.
Yeah, well, we all feel for Dennis Bermudez on that front.
That was, I teared up a little bit. That's some emotional shit.
It is.
Eddie, you got any? I see you wanted to say something. What do you got, Eddie?
I don't know.
You got the look on your face.
I feel like it was an okay card. Like
it was fun.
Just, I'm still feeling bad from Joey B.
Yeah. This dude is going to run on up to bantamweight, and he's going to be. I mean, at least he signed a 4-fight contract just the other day to fight at 125 pounds. So at least for him, there's a chance he'll be sticking around while they cut everybody else off and just wait for Cejudo to lose so they can finally get rid of that thing.
But he just picks up a solid decision win over Dustin Ortiz. And then the first thing John Anik says to him is like, hey, you're one of the best to never win a title.
I know.
Damn, dude. It's kind of fucked up. It's like a backhanded compliment.
It really is.
It's like, yeah, and you're probably not going to get a title shot anytime soon.
No, but in the meantime, while Cejudo goes up to fight Dillashaw at 135 pounds in the rematch. Jussier Formiga versus Davison Figueiredo. The winner of that versus Joe B. That's a whole lot of fun mixed martial arts. And we give Colby Covington an interim belt and then just take it away for shits and gigs. Now let's put an interim belt on Formiga versus Figueiredo. Fuck it. You all get belts. It's Oprah out in this bitch.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
shit,
you know,
with the new belts.
Yeah, okay, before we let you guys go, what do you think of the new belts? Zane?
They're really ugly. I mean, I don't know. That's about it.
Do you think it's going to grow on you? Because, I don't think that the old belt looks that good either. It's just, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. It's going to grow on me like a fungus. I can see that. Yeah, sure. It's got a ring to it, like a bathtub, you know.
I think it has a ring to it, as in it looks like it belongs on a ring and not a belt, or like a chain. Like if that were a chain, I'd be like, okay. But
it's the kind of thing that looks pretty in really small detail, and then when you blow it up, you're like, oh, that's chintzy and fuck ugly.
Yeah, it's bad. It's one of the worst belts I've ever seen for MMA. Period.
Well, not only does it not look the best, but the worst part of it is that instead of giving a champion who defends the belt another belt, they're going to add a rhinestone or a gem to it. That's
I noticed they were very specific in the ad for the new belts, to call them stones and not like diamonds or anything. Like, it's just like, it could be costume jewelry, it could be whatever. I mean, it's whatever we've got on hand. It's got a stone in it. You'll be fine.
Pay no attention to the type of stone.
Yeah. It's just some gravel out of Dana White's driveway.
Or out of his fish tank or something.
Yeah.
It's a melted down marble.
So no more multiple belts, huh? It's
No.
one in stones.
Yep.
Unless you win a belt in another weight class, then you get another belt. So, but we got to be real though. What were the UFC champs doing with all those belts anyway?
Letting some gyms hold them, giving some to their parents, auctioning them on eBay.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, maybe they lose out on the opportunity to auction get a little more money by auctioning that shit off, but
they can auction off the stones.
Yeah, that's right.
We should at least get a trophy for each time they defend, like a pride trophy, a big ass fucking.
There you go.
6 foot tall, tiered piece of plastic with some marble in the middle.
It's not depressing when we see those on eBay in 5 years.
Yeah, well, it happens in every sport. People selling their national championship rings.
I know.
For bus tickets.
All right, we haven't done a good job cheering this whole thing up. It was a fun card. I
think it was a really good card. I'd give it like a 8.5 out of 10.
I wouldn't even go that high.
But you're Mr. Positivity.
I know, right? It's so much irrelevance on this card.
But it was so fun.
It was okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll go with Brian on this, just for the Hardy Schadenfreude, and I don't even dislike Dillashaw, but something about watching him lose that quickly in this whole I'm going to kill the flyweight division and then just going down and getting melted.
Yeah.
That somehow didn't that actually made me feel a little good too.
Getting melted and then saying that you didn't get melted.
Yeah.
That was a bad stoppage. That was a good stoppage.
Yeah.
You just saved some years on your career and potentially your life. That was a 32-second shellacking.
Yeah.
Destroyed. I was so shocked by it that I didn't even have a reaction. What the fuck just happened? But yeah, definitely a good stoppage. I think that a lot of it has to do with TJ Dillashaw making such a drastic cut in the first time going down there, but also at the same time, Cejudo has been developing that power in his right hand.
Yeah, I think it was just Cejudo busting his ass. I don't think the weight cut really mattered. I think there's no way to quantify that. I think he just got his ass whooped.
Yeah, could be. I'm interested in seeing it 135 to find out still, but that's to the detriment of everybody else in either division.
But that's the UFC business model.
Yep.
Fuck the divisions.
And well, too, in that prize fighting, really selfish kind of singular way, it's also like, well, if you're not as a challenger, as a title challenger, if you haven't made yourself feel important enough for me to feel like I have to see you in that title fight, that's also kind of on you.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. I mean, how many people outside of the MMA bubble, the hardcore fans, even know who Rafael Assunção is? Nobody.
Nobody even knows who TJ Dillashaw is at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, fine.
They might know Cejudo, maybe.
But that's that guy who won an Olympic medal if they're really into wrestling.
They might know Paige Van Zant.
Yeah, they'd know Paige Van Zant.
But everyone else on this card, Greg Hardy, they'll know him for not the best of reasons. But yeah, there's
Cerrone is the biggest star on this card in terms of like actual people, names people know.
Yeah.
Old women who I work with know who Donald Cerrone is.
Exactly.
He's that handsome fighter guy. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'll let you guys go. I'm usually supposed to keep you for 10 minutes, but it's early, so I kept you for 26. You can do the call out if you want, Zane.
All right, fine. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSimon. You can find Eddie on Twitter at TheEddieMercado. You can find both of us over at BloodyElbow.com day to day. We'll be back with the 6th round coming at you tomorrow over on BloodyElbow.com, and that's over at Bloody Elbow Presents on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. Subscribe to all those. Give them a like, all that good stuff. We'll be back for UFC Fortaleza, I want to say. Is that what's coming next? Or UFC 234? UFC 234. Where am I?
No, you're UFC Fight Night 144, hashtag UFC Fortaleza.
UFC Fortaleza, that's what's coming next. Yeah, we'll be back from UFC Fortaleza in 2 weeks. So we'll have the vivisection, we'll have, or for that, and then in the meantime, we'll have If I Did It, and the Level Change podcast, Milky Quickie, our new one, I can't remember, coming out on Saturdays now, and I'll have the MMA Depressed us next week, all that good stuff. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you all next time.
Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for being here, Zane, Eddie. I think your new podcast is Pull No Punches.
Yeah, Pull No Punches. That's right, with Cajun Johnson or Kejon Johnson. I can't remember how to pronounce his name.
Wait, Kejon Johnson is doing a podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Sounds great.
Adios, amigo.
See you later, guys.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you. All right, now, fight fans, you guys are now my co-hosts since they dropped off. We're going to try to recap these fights as quickly as we can. The bosses want me to keep this post-fight show to about 30 minutes. We're at like 27 and such right now. I'll run down some results. I want to know what your guys' post-fight bonuses are. And also, first, before I go any further, Rob Amon, you're here to cut some people from the roster. I want to know what your guys' post-fight rating for this card is. It didn't seem like Eddie and Zane were loving the card too much. I had a great fucking time. It had everything that you'd ever want from a UFC event, in my opinion, because you always have weird things at a UFC event, like Greg Hardy losing via DQ due to an illegal knee to Alan Crowder. That's a weird thing to have happen. It's controversial. That shit happens like on every fight card. So it was there. I liked it. Greg Hardy, the controversial figure, gets a loss. What's not to like about that? There were a lot of fun grappling exchanges in fights such as Glover Teixeira versus Carl Roberson, Paige Van Zant versus Rachael Ostovich, Joseph Benavidez versus Dustin Ortiz. You had a youngster in Alexander Hernandez who came in with a lot of hype, talked a lot of shit, said a lot of things that maybe he shouldn't have, and then Donald Cerrone handed him a bit of humble pie. That was fucking dope. Joanne Calderwood, known as a kickboxer, showing off some awesome jiu-jitsu skills and submission attempts in her decision victory over Ariane Lipski. That was fucking great. There was a guy in Vinicius Moreira who looks like a Portuguese version of me. Ugly bastard. I apologize to him for having to look like me. Losing via TKO punches to Alonzo Menafield in the first round. Corey Sandhagen looking like a fucking world beater, submitting Mario Batista in the first round with an armbar. He dropped him with a flying knee. Got on the ground, almost sunk in, inverted triangle choke, didn't get it. Batista got back to his feet. Sandhagen got it back to the ground. armbar submission first round. Dennis Bermudez getting that, like he was on a 4-fight losing streak. He gets the win over T. Edwards and then retired, put his gloves in the center of the cage, shouted out his uncle who's not doing well with cancer, and I wish him well. Prayers with Dennis Bermudez's uncle. I don't know his name, but that was a touching moment. So the fight card had the controversy and like the weird thing with Greg Hardy. It had the heartfelt, like, touch your soul moment, bring a tear to your eye with Dennis Bermudez getting the victory and then retiring. Chance Wren counter is from Nebraska, from about 45 minutes away from where I live. Got a submission via rear naked choke in the first fight of the night. And, of course, he had Greg Hardy achieving some great things and continuing to be undefeated in a TKO stoppage with 1 second to go in round number 2 over Yancy Medeiros. And then to cap it off, you have a flyweight title fight where Henry Cejudo shuts down TJ Dillashaw in just 32 seconds. I don't know what you could possibly want more from a fight card. I said that I would give it an 8.5. I might even give it a 10. I had a blast. I said that the first bit of prelims took a long fucking time. The pacing was awful. But once we got past the TV schedule from 7 to 9 on ESPN, I felt like it was Fight Pass pacing for the last 6 fights. Just one after another. There was no hype between them. No hype videos. No, let's kick it back to the booth for 15 minutes. It was just fight. I anticipated that I was going to be doing this post-fight show at like 1:30 in the morning. It's 12:11. I don't know what's not to like about this card. Rob Amon gave it a 5 out of 10. Sam Rios, thanks for being here, my dude. What did you guys give the post-fight card? Rob Amon says the fight card, he gave it a 2. Man, you guys just didn't really love this fight card. Jacob Suarez says the Hardy fight was a 0, but overall it was amazing. The Hardy fight, sure, we could give it a 0, but also it was a 10 because the fucker lost. That's awesome. And he lost in a way that's going to make everybody look even more negatively on him because he did a cheap shot illegal knee, blatant illegal knee, disqualified like fucking immediately. If there was a result of a Greg Hardy fight that could possibly happen, it was either him getting knocked the fuck out or what happened. I mean, it doesn't get much better than what actually happened, so I think it was great. Rob Amon's cut list, Greg Hardy and T. Edwards, I absolutely agree. We'll talk about T. Edwards versus Dennis Bermudez for a minute here. Dennis basically had really good timing on his takedowns, got T. Edwards down, looked for some submissions, improved his position, got a little bit of ground and pound, but at the last few seconds of round number 1, maybe the beginning of round number 2, T. Edwards looked like he gave up. He was mentally not in the fight anymore. He was mentally defeated. So in his two UFC appearances, he got knocked out in the first round by Dan, you know what I'm saying. And then this one, he gave up like 5 minutes and 15 seconds into a fight with Dennis Bermudez. I say cut him. Maybe he has a third fight on his deal. He is a young guy. Maybe he can improve. He does have a little bit of a wrestling background, so he could improve. He looks the part, but he doesn't seem like he's mentally strong enough to be in the UFC, in my opinion. He-Man Master of the Universe said, some good fights, but the names were lacking and no one really cares about the lower weight classes. And then Jacob Suarez says disagree, and I agree with Jacob Suarez that I disagree. I care about every weight class almost equally, but I prefer 185 pounds, 205 pounds. Those are my favorite weight classes. It's because in my mind that's where I would compete if I were willing to get punched in the face. I'm not, but that's about what I would weigh if I weren't so chubby. I want to talk about what I considered the co-main event of the evening. It was Donald the Cowboy Cerrone versus Alexander Hernandez. And I want to talk about like what happened a little bit. So come out early. Hernandez caught Donald Cerrone with a left hook that put a goose egg or a mouse underneath the right eye of Donald Cerrone. And I thought, oh, Cerrone, sometimes when he gets hurt, he tends to wilt. But he did not. He got his composure back. Hernandez had been pressing forward the whole time. Donald Cerrone started picking up his right knee and intercepting the forward movement of Hernandez. He would get him to the body, or a lot of times as Hernandez would duck his head in with some like overhands and some looping shots, Cerrone would lift up his knee and catch Hernandez in the face. Then Cerrone, once he kind of established that you can't come at me, motherfucker, I'm going to come at you, he got him with some right hands, he got him with some good kicks to the body, and then in the second round, it was a right high kick, even through the glove of Hernandez, that sent him to the canvas, and Donald Cerrone finished the fight with some ground and pound. And also, in the first round early on, Donald Cerrone got a takedown on Hernandez, and I was like, yeah, you show him what's up, Donald. But Hernandez got up pretty quick, but I think Donald was like showing him, you need to worry about a lot of things in this fight. I hope that Hernandez comes at his next opponent with a little bit of humility. I know he came into the UFC on a breakneck pace, knocked out Beneil Dariush, and then just dominated Olivier Aubin-Mercier. But Donald Cerrone now has the most wins. Well, he continues his he lengthens his record, adds to it, for most wins in UFC history at 22. He has the most finishes in UFC history at 16. And I think that we might see him, I think he deserves a post-fight bonus, and I think that might tie him for the most post-fight bonuses in UFC history. I have to look at Wikipedia a little bit here. So while I'm talking about this, Jacob Suarez says, Rage Ally Quinta versus Conor McGregor. But in the post-fight interview, Donald Cerrone said, check this out. I have now fought 40 times for Zuffa. Holy buckets of shit. That is an insane record. But he called out, he said, I would like a fight with Conor McGregor, if that's, and he said it kind of politely. And then, after he said that he kind of would like a fight with Conor McGregor, McGregor tweeted, after a fight like that, Cerrone, you got it. Congratulations. So I think that Donald Cerrone is about to get red panty night against Conor McGregor, and I'm all for it. Super fun lead up to the fight, and I think the contest will be incredibly entertaining as well. You got the left hand of Conor McGregor is improving defensive ground game. You got Donald Cerrone, the long, strong kicks, and underestimated wrestling and jiu-jitsu skills. Incredible. So yes, record for post-fight bonuses. Nate Diaz is the current leader, tied with Joe Lozon for 15 total post-fight bonuses in Zuffa history. So that's UFC, Strikeforce, and WEC, of course. Donald Cerrone is currently at second place with 14, ahead of Charles Oliveira and Anderson Silva, who are tied for fourth at 13. But I think Donald Cerrone is about to get a post-fight bonus for this performance over Alexander Hernandez, and he's going to be in a three-way tie with Nate Diaz and Joe Lozon for the most post-fight bonuses in UFC history. He owns the most wins, the most fights, the most finishes, and now tied for the most post-fight bonuses in UFC history. If you don't like watching Donald Cerrone fight, well, you wouldn't be on this post-fight show. You might not like the man, you might not like his gimmick or his personality, but if you don't like watching him fight, my goodness, I feel really, really sorry for you. Sam Rios, are we going to see Khabib versus Ferguson? Yeah, I think that has to happen. That has to be the fight that happens. I saw a lot of people saying, I feel bad for Dustin Poirier because he's like in limbo. Dude, just wait and fight the winner of Khabib versus Ferguson. Conor fight Cowboy. Or reschedule Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier. Anyway, what are your guys' picks for post-fight bonuses? I'm going to pull up the real post-fight bonuses right now. Once I find them, I'll give you mine, but I got to give you a second to Tell me what your post-fight bonuses are. Where fuck are they? Give me a second here. We got a little dead air. I'm trying to find the actual post-fight bonuses. Well, it should be on Wikipedia, right? I can't fucking find them. Oh my god. Jacob Suarez, Cejudo, of course. Oh, Rob Amos says Poirier versus Iaquinta would be a barn burner. Absolutely. Paige Van Zant and Bermudez getting post-fight bonuses. No, I don't think that. I don't think that Paige Van Zant or Bermudez are going to get a post-fight bonus. But my post-fight bonuses would go to, I think, Henry Cejudo. You can't win in 32 seconds in a title fight and not get a post-fight bonus. I think that Donald Cerrone deserves a post-fight bonus. Actually, I would give Donald Cerrone versus Alexander Hernandez a fight of the night. So there's two of my bonuses. One of them to the main event winner, Henry the Messenger Cejudo. I don't even think they're out yet. I don't think they've dropped the post-fight bonuses. Well, we might not know the real ones, but so yes, I would go Cejudo, Cerrone, Alexander Hernandez, and then I would give the fourth one, the fourth real one, to I'd go Glover Teixeira, and then because we're not actually giving anybody any extra money, because we don't have any money, I don't have enough money, I'm gonna go with $50,000 to Chance Rencounter, because he's a local dude. I've met him. I got a picture of him on my Twitter, and that does it, I guess. Yeah, Sandhagen. Sandhagen deserves one for that fucking domination over Mario Bautista. Only reason I kind of leaned away from giving a post-fight bonus to Sandhagen for the win over Bautista is because, Bautista came in on super short notice as a gigantic underdog, and it was kind of expected. You see, I don't like results that we know were going to happen. I like to be surprised, shocked. You know what I'm saying? Like I was in the main event, like I was with Donald Cerrone whooping the shit out of Alexander Hernandez. So that's why I'm not going to give one to Corey Sandhagen. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap up this show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up. I really need you to do that. All 207 of you that are watching right now live, please give the video a thumbs up, because a lot of people are going to come later and give it a thumbs down. For some reason, my post-fight shows get a lot of thumbs down, and you can probably tell me why in the comment section, even though it'll make me really sad because you don't like the way I talk, I'm not that knowledgeable, or whatever, I'm cringe, whatever you want to say in the comment section. But if you liked the post-fight show, the portion where I was by myself or the portion where I had Eddie and Zane with me, please give the video a thumbs up. It would mean a lot to me. And subscribe to the channel. I'll be back in a while, February 2nd, for a Sunsao versus Marais 2. Thanks again for being here. Marcus McGahee, Bada Jr., Jacob Suarez, Rob Amon. That's all I can see right now. Thanks so much for being here, guys. I'll see you after a bit. Namaste. Namaste. Appreciate it.